Almost 8:45, and with me is photographer Joe Harzinski. You know, you think of news people as being the people that go out and cover the news, which is true, and you take pictures of other people's problems, but in this case, virtually no one at our station was left untouched. We've got an awful lot of people homeless here, a lot of people in the newsroom, a lot of people in production are without homes, and in some cases staying here, and I know it wasn't an easy time for you either. What happened to you? Tell us what part of town you live in.
Well, I live in Kendall, off 104th Street and 107th Avenue, and I guess we were right on the edge where all the bad whatever would happen, did happen, and I was out, shooting, before the storm hit, and I was covering one story, and I was trying to get it on my way home, and I got into my house about 2:30, and about 8 minutes later.
In the morning?
Yeah. 8 minutes later, and that was an experience trying to get home, because it was starting to get real bad, and it was hard to see driving because the rain was starting to come down real hard and the winds were kicking up. But I got home, and 8 minutes later the power went off for good, and I think if I didn't get there in time and stayed with my wife and my family, they would have really had a nervous breakdown, because you can hear things flying.
Let me ask you this: Did you have a portable radio?
Yeah, we had a radio.
Where were you, and what were you listening to?
In a family room where there's no windows. There's a door that goes out to the patio, but it's a solid door. But we were in that room, and we listened to the radio. We listened to Y100 because they were simulcasting our air. So, it was really. I've never been through something like that before. I mean, I was scared. I was really scared because the wind, that sound, I think I'll never forget that sound of the wind. It was just mind-boggling.
I know that all my life I've heard that terminology, the sound of a freight train with tornadoes and hurricanes.
Well, yeah, I grew up here, so I've been through a lot of hurricanes as a kid, but I don't really remember certain things.
It was never like that.
No,
the other hurricanes
when you're a kid, it's a big, it's fun, but you're an adult, and it's a whole different experience.
Kids all around with you?
Yeah.
Were you all talking about your fear?
Well, they were sleeping, luckily, for the most part, but me and my wife, we just sat together the whole time and held hands real tight, because we didn't know if the roof was going to come off.
Now, how did the sounds begin? What kind of sounds did you hear? The sounds that your home was making?
Well, you hear the doors would rattle. The garage door was just, making all kinds of noise, and the door to go out into the garage, it was just constantly just rattling back and forth. And then I had put some plywood up over one of the sliding glass doors. It had come loose, and that was just going back and forth. And I had a tool shed, aluminum tool shed, and I guess piece by piece it was just flying away, and it's gone. I went looking for it the day after. I couldn't find it anywhere in the neighborhood, so it went airborne somewhere. But you hear things flying through the air, and
Were you at some point fearful that you wouldn't make it?
No, not really. It was just like the anxiety of just saying, well, the winds are going to stop. Everything's going to get better.
Did you find yourself just not being able to wait for that eye to get here, for the relief that comes with the eye?
Yeah, you're just waiting for everything to get a little bit better, and by the time the sun came up.
What about water?
Well, I was prepared for the water, and I had plenty of batteries. I had plenty of water.
I mean, no, I mean leaks from.
Oh yeah, the roof. The house faces towards the east, and all the shingles are off. There's a big leak. My one son's room.
Were you aware that water was coming in during the hurricane?
No, it took a while, and in the rain, finally, where the amount got in there, and I put some buckets in the bad spots to catch the water. But I've been out there now and seen what other people have gone through, and I'm lucky. I'm real lucky, and I got it real good compared to a lot of other people. I mean, I'm living in my house, so other people don't even have a house.
When you walked out, how long did you wait until you said, all right, it's okay to go out and see what's...
As soon as the sun got up, I decided I was going to go out, and I had my news car there, and I couldn't get my news car out because my neighbor's 3 trees had blown into my yard, and there was no way for me to get out and drive around. Plus the fact I wouldn't have got very far because of all the we have huge trees that have been growing for 27 years in our neighborhood, ficus trees that are or they're just monsters and they're down. So I went through the neighborhood, and it was still blowing and everything, and I got 4 or 5 blocks walking through the neighborhood, and I could see the squall line coming through, and I'm running with all the equipment back to the house. I'm afraid something's going to happen.
Let me ask you this. You've been a photographer for many years, and you have covered and photographed many natural disasters. Did you have any idea before Andrew came through that Miami would look like it does today?
No, I don't think anybody did, to tell you the truth. I don't think anybody knew the extent of what was going to happen, because it's been 27 years, and you know, people have forgotten, and people who have never experienced a hurricane didn't expect something like this to happen. I mean, it's just beyond all comprehension.
What were your thoughts when you walked outside?
There's a lot of damage. I mean, people's. Luckily, I have a house that was built in the '60s, and I think maybe the standards are a little different than there are now. And luckily, my house held up real well, and the houses in the neighborhood. Although the roofs did have damage, and I guess that can be expected. But you know, we have a structure still there.
Right.
That's the main thing.
So I guess your damage is basically interior water damage.
Yeah, in the roof, and you know, some stuff. A lot of fences down in the area. My pool, you know, I don't know. I can't check out my pool yet because it's just covered with stuff, and I think I might have some damage inside the pool. Mm-hmm. And but it's just amazing. I'm so lucky compared to a lot of other people. Like one of our photographers, Dirk Muth, his house is just it's just amazing what has happened to him. And I've been trying to help him out as much as I can. I went over there yesterday to see if I could help him out. Luckily, he's found a place right across the street where he's renting, and he's slowly transferring what's left of his house, his belongings, over to the other house. And it's just really sad to see. You know, it hits home closer because he's, you know, you work side by side with him.
Well, when you talk about homeless people in another state or another country, as a result of a natural disaster, somehow there is a detachment associated with that. When it hits in your own backyard and it's your next-door neighbor who's homeless, and it's you who's helping him out, it's a totally different feeling.
Yeah, for the most part, you know, neighbors have been helping neighbors, and you meet people in the neighborhood that you haven't met before because everybody's trying to help everybody, and you know, getting through an intersection, and everybody's, for the most part, being pretty patient on because the traffic lights aren't, you know, working. But you know, your neighbors are always, you know, do you need this? Do you need that? You know, everybody's being real, you know, cooperative and friendly.
On the day of the hurricane, I worked the early shift from about 6 a.m. until about 4 p.m. on the air with Brian Norcross, and we were trying to give the people the viewers a sense of urgency at that point, that this was no joke. And at some point we went to somebody to get information on preparedness, and the person said, you know, we don't want to scare anybody out there, but you know, you really have to start getting ready. And I said to him, I said, you know, maybe it's time that we should scare some people, because this is a Category 4 hurricane, and if you're not scared at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, you're in trouble.
Right.
If you haven't done something, if you haven't made plans to evacuate or made plans to at least board up your windows, then you're in trouble. Because as we found out, the evacuation areas meant nothing.
Right.
The evacuation areas were only to protect those in the path of the storm surge. And out of the evacuation area, there was far more damage and destruction than in the evacuation area.
Yeah, I'm a little guilty on being lax on I waited almost to the last minute to get wood to board up some of the windows. And I think a lot of people were not prepared for this. They just you know, just got complacent, I guess, and weren't ready. But a lot of people were, and for the most part, a lot of people weren't. And you know, there was just simple things you can do during the year to get yourself ready for this, and I guess this is the perfect example of like opening people's eyes now.
I don't think Dr. Sheets will find apathy anymore in South Florida in terms of hurricane preparedness.
No,
but it's unfortunate.
Like Brian Norcross said, South Florida, it'll never be the same, and it's going to take a long, long time.
Well, when I was about to say, when I left, Brian Norcross told me, we were off the air in a break, and he said, Bob, as you drive home, take a look around Miami one last time, because it will never be the same.
Yeah.
And you know what a frightening what a frightening thing that is to be told. And as much as you see the pictures, you see a Hugo go through South Carolina, but it's somewhere else. Now it's passed through. Andrew has passed through, and we see the incredible destruction that's been done, and the trauma, the lasting trauma that you get from something like that, for those that are still able to live in their community, is that your community is not what it used to be. It doesn't look like it used to look. Your landmarks are all gone. Your street signs are gone. Your traffic lights are gone. When I'm driving to and from work, it's like I'm in another state.
Right.
You don't even know where you are.
It's really amazing. I was saying to my brother-in-law, who was with me yesterday when we went to see Dirk, it's amazing how the wind can discriminate against certain structures and certain houses. In Dirk's neighborhood, you can see where the wind has come and hit the house at a certain angle, and huge signs that go across the expressway just down with no problem. It's just it's remarkable. It's remarkable what a hurricane can do. I mean, the destructive force that it has. It's just amazing.
I was surprised. I was surprised. I mean, I guess, you know, pictures are one thing. And someone made a comment the other day, actually I think it was the Secretary of Transportation Card, in terms of the federal government not realizing the extent of the damage for so long.
Exactly.
His comment was something like, you know, you look at a TV screen and you see 20% destruction because the screen is so small. And he says, but you got to realize you're looking at a picture that's this big, and the destruction is 360 degrees.
Yeah, I don't think President Bush really got a good view, so to speak, of what happened when he flew in here. I don't think he got to get down on the ground in the bad spots and see up close, you know, people's faces and what they've gone through, and you know, finally it took so long to get things going, but things are getting going now, so hopefully you know, hopefully these people can get a lot of help.
And again, we show mostly, because the extent is the worst there, we're showing the Homestead area and the Florida City area. But, you know, as you move further north, still in South Dade,
right, the
destruction is still immense. I mean, you have homes that are standing, but homes that are missing half their roofs. And right. I'm not talking about, oh, maybe a house there and a house there. All around where I live, right. I mean, almost every house has a piece of roof gone, or half a roof, or whole roof gone. In one case, right in my own neighborhood, a friend of mine has nothing left but 4 walls. All we were able to save out of his house were his clothes. It's just mind-boggling, and there's nowhere you can turn, no street you can go down that escaped it. Again, there's a matter of degree. The winds were discriminating,
right,
and perhaps did less damage to one structure that may have been, you know, cuddled in between 2 houses that maybe protected it more than another house. But nobody escaped it in this area.
Yeah, I think people need to be a little patient, because it's gonna take a little time, especially with the electricity part. I mean, I've noticed that it's really uncomfortable and different trying to sleep in certain conditions.
Well, let me make one more point here before we take a break at the top of the hour. You know, I live in the area, as do you, near the falls, and it was an area full of foliage, full of high pine trees and yeah. tall bushes, an area that was had an identity of its own because of that. I mean, every community is identified by its foliage and trees and plants. Now, when you look out the back door, you can see homes you never saw before.
Yeah, especially when you get up high on the expressway.
As a result, as a result of the fact that the fences are down, as a result of the fact that the hedges are down and the trees are down, the good part of all this is that, you know, you're meeting with and talking with and having dinner with neighbors you didn't even know.
Exactly. Helping
out people who you didn't know a week ago.
Yeah, people are really coming together.
So, yeah, so if there's a silver lining to this, it's that...
yeah, maybe this will help the community get a little bit closer, and we won't have as many problems as we had in the past. People understand one another a little bit better, and things will work out.
All right, Joe, thanks for being with us.
Sure,
Good
Bob.
luck fixing your house. Did it get wet again last night?
Yeah, it's wet, but better off than a lot of other people.
Yeah, me too. Keep those buckets going.
Okay.
We've got a couple of notes here we want to read. County Manager Joaquin Avignon has asked today that all Metro-Dade employees